Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Helping the Brave, and let's bring in our guest today, Carlos Verduzco. How you doing, Carlos?
Doing good, Ed. Thanks.
Thanks for coming in. I appreciate you coming actually into the studio today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of Helping the Braves joined from somewhere else in the United States, but you're here in Modesto with me. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, I am. Thanks.
All right. Usually, how we get it started is, what service did you pick and why?
So, did I pick it?
What service were you in?
So, I was in the Army.
Okay.
I served for 13 years total. I did 9 active, and then I did 4 reservist. So, a little interesting as picking it, as you said. I don't know. Kind of was the first recruit came out. We didn't have too many of the services come out.
Is that high school?
High school, yeah. Straight
What high school did you go to?
Burbank High.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a
It was a
boy.
smaller school. That's why you think?
Yeah, it was.
That was a while ago.
It was in 2000s when I graduated.
Right, so that's a while.
A little
ago.
bit, I know.
Doesn't seem like it.
Y2K, yeah,
but it's been a while. All right, so the recruiters came out and
yeah. So I talked to the Army recruiter. Was the only recruiter that came out to Burbank that I recall. Had a conversation, and actually it was the guidance counselor that said, "Hey, it might be something that you're be interested." I played soccer for 4 years, and just kind of was looking for a path. And so my family, didn't have money for college, so I'm like, this is my way, and went out, did my 4 years initially, came back, was a recruiter for Modesto, and did 2.5 years as a recruiter. Went back.
Did you go to Riverback at that time?
Yeah, I went to Riverbank. Yeah, went to Riverbank.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Because I was at Turlock High, and the Navy came there, and a few other ones came there, and that's how. I mean, when my son joined the Army, he went. I took him over to this station here in town, and he went to Air Force first, because that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't guarantee him what he wanted. They were like, "Oh, we have administration," or I'm like, dude, you are such a snowboarder and one of those guys who want to do stuff. You will not do well behind a desk. So then we took him to the Army, airborne medic, right away, guaranteed his job, blah blah blah, and he signed up and went. So yeah.
Now, a lot of people do the shopping around, see which one fits best. I think it was my situation.
I think you just got lucky because it guaranteed your job.
I guaranteed my job. I got a $12,000 bonus. I was an aircraft refueler, so it was one of those that they pushed me out. Well, not immediately, but it was for the bonus, right? So $12,000 at 18, you're like, oh, I'm rich. But after they tax it, it becomes like $5. So
not that well. That was in 2000. That was Bush still, so it wasn't so bad. But yeah,
no, it wasn't that bad. Went airborne, had my jumps out there, and then came back to recruiting. But when I was in recruiting, I felt the need to go back to let some of the guys come back. It was the first couple tours out there, and I was like, you know what, I have to go and at least send one of the guys back. I can't just be sitting in a recruiting office. It just didn't feel right.
So when you say you have to go back, you're talking about Iraq?
Big Army, call it.
Huh?
Big Army.
Big Army. What is Big Army? So not just military people watch this, people who have no idea about it. So explain more. No acronyms, and you got to explain everything.
Okay.
Like we're stupid.
So Big Army, I guess we call it, is recruiting's a little niche, right? You have a small group, you're kind of in a bubble, and so you're out in normal life, right? I was here in Modesto, so it's not a base. It's not, you're not doing real training, and then so Big Army's going back doing just like a regular job. A lot of people don't realize it is a 9 to 5 job. I mean, sometimes a lot longer.
Right.
So and then also deployment. Yeah. Right. So people were deploying out there. I felt the need to go back and send one of the guys back home. And
did you get deployed?
I did. I deployed 3 times. Now it's a little different than normal because I was part of a special operations group. So total 6 months. My first deployment was like a month. Came back. Second deployment was 2 months. Came back. Last one was 3 months. Came back. So
Well, you weren't inventory. You were infantry. You were aircraft refueling,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
you had a job that was needed at a certain base to refuel certain aircrafts, right? You weren't on an airplane that refueled aircrafts. They would come in to be refueled, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually in an airport or just a fuel point. So,
but that's still a bad place to be at because people can
Yeah.
bomb those things.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, because everybody talks about it. I don't want anybody to go to combat if they don't have to, just because of how many guys I know who've been to combat. And I'm not trying to take anything away from them because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are. And I just don't want people to go through that what they go through afterwards.
Yeah. We don't come back the same.
Nope.
And positive and negative. You know, there's a lot of things that would come back that helps us through our lives, but then there's also the negative, right? PTSD. We all kind of, when we come back, have some kind of PTSD that we got to deal with. And because we are proud, sometimes we don't get the help.
Right.
I actually just got the help because I was worried that if I do say that I have PTSD, that they're going to take our weapons away, right?
Right.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Need some water? You okay?
Yeah, a little bit of water. Give me a sec.
Take your time. So we're having just a conversation. It just happens to have a camera in front of you.
Yeah.
It's amazing how people get clammed up on these things. And I forget I've been doing 10,000 hours of these, so it's no big deal to me anymore. But the first time is always a big deal.
Yeah, no, this is our second time.
Well, I'm talking on this one. Yeah, you were on a radio show for doing tiny homes. All right, so back to the PTSD. So you're right. So a lot of people will not get the help. They won't ask for help. And I always say, well, if you're pinned down somewhere, you're going to ask for air support. What's the difference?
Yeah.
But I don't think people want to tell people that they're hurting and have other issues.
It's a pride thing. It's I wouldn't say ego. It's just you feel like you don't want to be categorized, I guess. You know, and then the treatment is awesome. Going and talking to a therapist, learning why things happen, learning why you're the certain. Like for me, my biggest thing is just wherever I go, I have to have an exit. I have to know what's going on. You know, so it's not too terrible. But then now I know why I do it.
Well, that's I think that's just in any military because I do the same thing.
Yeah,
I was in the Navy. I was at Camp Pendleton. I was not in that area, but was ingrained in me to know in hypersensitive to what's going on at all times. I think that's just something we learn while we're in. But if you're actually over there, it gets worse.
Yeah. You're just hyper alert. You're always looking around, scanning every area. Right. So it just depends when you're at. And I was in, airport, so it wasn't like I was kicking down doors, but even flying around at night, pretty scary,
because you can't have the lights on or anything.
No, it's all dark.
I didn't know that until I was listening to Trump on his thing last Friday. He's talking about with Air Force One going into Iraq.
Yeah. Well, you have red lights. If
they didn't have that. No, they didn't have that because nothing.
No, it's pretty scary. One time flying out, we had the flares go off, and I was like, oh, that's it. You kind of like, and I think some of us do think, hey, this might be the last, time. Right. And when something like that happens, it's interesting. I don't know how to explain it.
No, I understand. But let's back up a sec. So from doing this show over the last 3 years, I find that this is my own statistics. 80% of the people who have PTSD have something from their childhood that gets exacerbated while they're in the military, because not sane people run towards danger. So I don't know if that's something going through your PTSD and working with what you went through. Have you found that there was anything from your childhood that helped exacerbate the situation?
So growing up, I do think that it has a lot to do with it. One term that I heard is that we're a warrior community. So I have two other brothers, older and younger. I'm the middle child. And so my parents, it was a really hard relationship, right? So my dad was alcoholic. Now he's actually, I want to say recovered, but doing a lot better. And physical abuse was prevalent, and so I became the protector, right? So trying to protect my mom. So I do think that was part of it. That you know that helped me.
Yeah, I just find, unfortunately, those are situations because, it helps us deal with things that other people can't deal with.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just something that we have to deal with. And I think most people won't deal with their PTSD and won't get over it until they deal with the things from their childhood also. And it's sad that I've had people from 30 years with the VA working for the VA in this type of environment where they're supposed to be helping us vets. And I ask them the same question and they have no idea.
Yeah. Well, and I think they don't go that deep. One thing that I've been working on is wanting to start a nonprofit. And a nonprofit starting, because what I think is happening is that PTSD, we're way late to the ball game, right?
Yeah.
So my nonprofit would be starting at the recruit, because when you leave, you're not leaving for a job. You're leaving for a whole change of everything. You're becoming indoctrinated with something that you didn't know. So a lot of it starts then. And so if you have somebody that kind of guides you through the whole process, even being there, because I made mistakes. I got that big bonus check. I don't know where it went. I bought a truck, or you
know where it went.
Where they go buy the motorcycles. So
everybody gets their first car, then they can't make the payments, and then they go get bad debt, everything else. It's just, I see where you're at, but I think for me, one of the most, we had a guy who came over and spoke at our Rotary when I was president, because I was really big on helping veterans and the community to understand where our veterans are, because we're losing 50 a day to committing suicide. Excuse me. And he was talking about, you need a boot camp out.
Yes.
That has to deal with re-looking at everything, even including yoga and all this other stuff, whatever it is, instead of just this TAPS program that just says bye-bye.
Yeah. So bye-bye. I think it's the same person that we're talking about that he mentioned, which I can explain even better. It's the government. Let's say they're making a war machine, right? A tank.
Yeah. And we're talking about the guy who was in prison. He was a Marine for 10 years and then incarcerated for 23 years. Yeah. He came over, spoke at our Rotary.
So the way he explains it, I mean, can't be any better. They build a war machine and then they slap on yellow paint, put school bus inside, and send you down Main Street.
Yeah.
And they don't take the time to take off all the armor, take off all the stuff that they put on, and spend thousands of dollars to create this war machine, but they spend minimal to retrofit, right? So yeah, definitely. I love the way he put it.
Yeah, I mean, and he only, what he added was, and please, I'm just going to clean it up a little bit if that's okay with you. Because he said you take a Bradley, paint it like a school bus. It doesn't know it's a school bus. It's still a Bradley. It goes down the street, tearing up the street, because it doesn't know anybody. And that's the same with us. We're tools of war, and we don't get by the way, we're done with you. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't deal with that. Some of us have no problem, because while we're doing other things to focus on what we're going to do. But some of us don't have that luxury. Some of us are places that they can't do anything other than what their job is.
Yeah.
For me, I knew I was getting out. I knew I was going to I had a purpose. But along the way, it doesn't mean that I haven't lost my purpose multiple times, that I need help figuring out what my new purpose is. And that was one of the reasons we put together Operation Firewalk last year, which we're going to do it again May 3rd this year of 2025 because of that.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of us, even though we know we're getting out, we don't realize it until it happens.
Right.
We get out and we're so fed up with the military that we don't even pay attention at the transition, the TAPS. We come out and you're told, right, that you have all these traits that employers want. Honestly, I mean, I came out in 2008, 9. So it was a bad time anyways. And I mean, I just couldn't find a job. I couldn't find any work. I didn't even know how to apply for unemployment. I've never had to apply for unemployment. So that was an issue. School, you don't know where to go. So you're kind of out there flapping in the wind, And sometimes it is us because we don't seek out the information. Um, 40%, I was 40% disabled for a long time, VA, and I didn't know the process. Now I actually got rated where I'm supposed to be, well, close to it, and I'm 80%, but it took about 10 years.
Did you do it yourself, or did you have
I
somebody
did it
else?
myself. Well, through the VSO,
Okay.
Veteran Service Officer.
The reason
Yeah.
I'm asking is because there's another guy who knows how to do that stuff real well, and I'm looking to put together a nonprofit to do this, to help him, because a lot of people go through these companies online, and I have no problem with that because they take a little bit of your first check. Some of them take a lot of your first check. I just think there's a better way to do it, because a lot of these guys wouldn't do it themselves.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar. I want to do my nonprofit so we could provide that service also at no cost. I don't know if I have an issue with it.
You mean with people charging?
No,
I at first I did, but there's some companies who charge a lot. I mean, like way ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I look at it this way: it's if they weren't going to do it anyway, right? Because they don't know how to do it, and nobody's helping them, and they're not seeking it out, and you help them, then there's no problem with that. It's the ones that are so easy that there's nothing to it, but they're still charging ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah. I've seen them. I don't think I have enough knowledge to, I guess, have but I just, if I can do it, if I do it by myself or through a veteran service office or even one of the veteran organizations, they can do it. But yeah, I mean, if from nothing to something, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys get out. They go through, like when I got out, I went through DAV because it was in San Diego.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, here you go. And you get this little amount. And then you have to go back. And it's so much easier now than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And I've interviewed a guy on here who he can make one phone call. And you'd be amazed what they pick up his call and he gets it done for you. And he doesn't charge anything.
Yeah, well, even the information you get from YouTube, going to the appointments, there's stuff that we don't realize that we shouldn't say.
Yeah, like you had a bad childhood.
Like so stuff like that, or even when it does hurt, because we're used to not saying that it hurts, right? It's like, okay, well, or you got pain at this, range of motion, like my shoulder's messed up, and we just go past it because that's how we're programmed. But there's not a lot more information that's out there that we didn't have back then.
Right. Well, it's so easy to get that information today compared to where it was. There was, 20 years ago, there wasn't like the internet there is now, and the people who have that information, how easy to get information and find out stuff out, how to do things. But there's also a lot of bad information.
Right.
And that's why I think there's a great opportunity to do this. And so I don't want to do it alone. I've learned to do things with partners now versus doing everything myself.
Well, that's something that I'm learning now.
So I have one other guy. So maybe we all should talk.
Yeah.
And then we could do something. Because I know you have opportunities available right now, time wise.
I do. Well, it got a lot busier. But yeah.
All right. So since you've been out, you've done a few different things. But before we get there, looking back, would you have done anything different with your service? What would you have wanted or do something, different?
I regret not pushing myself. I regret it.
What do you mean by pushing yourself? What do you mean?
So I went in, did airborne. I was really great physically at that time. I mean, I got a award for being one of the fittest at my boot camp. So I got an award then. Went to jump school, did that, was no problem. I was offered to go to Ranger School or RIP, which is indoctrination. And I didn't take it because,
thank God. I'm sorry. There's so many most people go there. They're messed up when they get at through the whole thing. So please don't take that wrong. Well, everybody, my son wanted it. Everybody wants it, and they knock out so many people. But I know a lot of Rangers who are messed up.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm not knocking them. There's as many as I know messed up. There's so many more that aren't.
They're an interesting group.
Yes.
But I feel that I could have completed it easily.
Okay.
And then so when I went into the unit that I was with and deployed, they're a special operations unit. So the 160th is pretty much the transports, Rangers, special forces, and everybody else that's on the top tier. And so I had this mentality is like, well, if they're not going to pay me out extra, I'm not going to do it. Right. So like I didn't go to air assault school. I didn't do all these schools because I'm like, they're not going to pay me. I won't do it. But now I'm like, you know what? I should have took advantage of it because now I look at the stuff on YouTube and sit there, see things, and I'm like, could I have done it? Just to challenge myself. If I would have, there's a large washout, especially when you go to special forces. But I'm like, you know what? I should have challenged myself, even for those schools. And that's what I tell a lot of the new recruits: take as many schools as you can, because it's just you expand as a person. You learn so much from it, and you learn who you are. Because when I was going through the difficult times through Green Platoon, which is 3 weeks or 2 weeks, 3 weeks of training to go into special operations, I hated it. But now I appreciate that I did go through it. So.
All right. So speaking of pushing yourself, I want to, before we close today, I want to get into what we're doing in a week or so. But you say you weren't pushing yourself back then. Are you pushing yourself now?
I think I got to a point where it was easy street.
I'm talking about now.
I'm pushing. So I'm having to, health wise.
Okay.
Physically, I'm having to. Yeah.
And I'm just saying because you're talking about how you have regret that you didn't push yourself back then. So you got out when? What year?
2013.
Okay, so that was after 9/11. So you have the good GI Bill, right?
I do. Yeah.
So have you utilized it to go to school?
So right now I'm actually in class. I should be done with my bachelor's in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to do anything else after that, like a master's?
Yeah, I'll be going to get my master's.
See, I had the horrible one. It did pay like $2,500. It was ridiculous.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was the last of those. So I had to pay for my own master. So when I was in, I got my bachelor's. And then in my first year of my master's, and when I got out, I finished my master's. So I had debt from that. So people who have that 9/11 bill that can go to school, what's nice about it is if you don't use it and your kids, your wife can use it and other people can use it.
Yeah. It's gotten even better. So what I'm using actually
is you get paid to go to school too.
Right. And so I'm not using GI Bill. Actually, I'm using what's called the vocational rehab program. So if you're 10% or more disabled, you're able to take advantage of that program. So that's what's paying the masters.
Gotcha. What's your plan? I mean, what are you looking to do moving forward? Because you have all this knowledge. Most veterans become great business owners because we know about systems, we know about certain things. So what is your long-term goal here?
So I'm going to get my master's in nonprofit administration and management. I am really focused onto the opening up my own nonprofit with the focus on, like I said, starting with the recruit, guiding them through service time and preparing them for the transitioning, and between then helping them if they ever when they have trauma, when they have issues, to catch it before it happens. So that's really what I'm focused on.
Well, all right. Well, I mean, that's a great goal. All right. So how did you get involved with the Veterans Administration here in town?
So about 2020, I went to a parade committee meeting. And so I've been pretty involved with the community. I came back with this hunger to just help. And
was that the moment you got back, or really? See, for me, I ran away from it. I ran away from everything. I had to get away from the service.
No, I actually, I was in Riverbank, and I was running for one of the city council seats, and then became very involved with Riverbank. Became chairman of a nonprofit out there for a park. So since I came back, I've been involved with the community at some point. And so back in 2020, the parade, and and that's something that I would do want to talk about our volunteers, is that there wasn't that many volunteers for the parade. It was about 5 of us. And so,
I don't think the word's out about it. You don't hear about it.
no, no,
And so how do we get that word out more? So that's something we need to work on.
that's something I've been working on.
Because I can talk about it on my radio. So
Yeah, people don't realize that the parade is not just set up in a couple months. So we throughout the whole year we plan. Um, when we first started, it was a lot cheaper. We could do it with entries. They pay $20, $40 entry fee, and then also vendors. When I took over, we weren't charging nobody, so it was just like bootstraps. Then we built a website. Then we started charging entry fees, and we started doing little things here and there just to cover the cost. So what we had this year is that the cost was just too much. We weren't able to. When I first started, I was like, we need to start doing fundraisers. And like I said, it's only a team of 5, and I think that a lot of the veteran organizations suffers the same issue, right? That you have like 3 to 5 really solid volunteers, and everybody else doesn't participate as much. And so we're kind of getting from the same pool. The parade is not a organization where it's just let's say the VFW, which is the Veterans of Foreign Wars, or the Marine Corps League. It's for everybody, but everybody already is part of another organization, so they have their duties on that side. So it does become very difficult for people to do both.
So basically, it's political to a certain point. Why I found out by doing this show, a lot of nonprofits, because they overlap just a hair, they don't help each other out.
Yeah.
And that's what I see a lot of. And I'm tired of these silos in this area. It's about veterans. It's not about you and your nonprofit. It's about veterans. It's about helping veterans. And back to your thing, in Rotary, 10% of the people of the club do everything. So it's the same thing. It works in everything. But we need to get more people involved.
So the good thing about the parade committee is that it doesn't have to be a veteran.
I mean, no, I'm just saying in general.
Yeah. And that's one thing that the other ones you do have to be, right? So if you want to be part of the VFW, you have to be a veteran. The parade committee, you don't.
That's veteran of foreign war, so you also have to have gone to war.
Yeah. So
that's the only one I don't. So and someone asked me why we didn't do our thing in certain places. It's like, I don't want to where you have to be in an exclusive club to be able to get access to stuff.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and that's why I also stay away from certain like categories, I guess. And they're always at it. You go into one event and they're like, oh, you're a veteran, you did this, join our club, or not club, but organization. But with the parade, it can be anybody. You support a veteran or want to support the parade, there's a spot for you. There's a leadership spot. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot as far as just the organizing and management. So what I was saying before is it wasn't that expensive. I think it was maybe at the most, maybe $1,500. We project next year to be about $9,000.
Next year, 2025?
2025.
Because what I hear is one of the biggest issues is the roads for Caltrans. The road, how expensive it is.
So before, we didn't have to submit engineering. Engineering costs us $600 to get a stamp from an engineer to close the roads.
Some of those places will donate their time.
So we do have them helping us if we don't make any changes. But if we make changes, it's going to be a little bit more. But some do.
Well, what you should do is talk to Mike Kelly, because we did Ride for Mom, and he handled all the permits for Ride for Mom. Okay. And so he knew a lot of different places to go and get around certain things. Maybe we can get him involved with this to help out, because, he might have some connection with some people. Because I know a bunch of people, too, that we run into things, and I could put the word out on the radio show what we need. And that would be the Real Estate Jerky radio show.
Yeah. So one thing that we just saw with everything happening with the parade and us having to cancel it is that a lot of people in the community stepped up. A lot of it's knowing people, like you said, just having those connections that we don't have. Being able to make a phone call where we can't make phone calls, or we can, but we don't have the same rapport with certain organizations, people.
Right.
So yeah,
I totally understand, because we were putting the Firewalk on. I fought with the city for 4 months and then moved it to the county and had no problem.
We work well now.
I'm just saying there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was other reasons, not necessarily that it's just the city. It's has to do with other stuff. But I'm just saying there's sometimes it's easier to move certain things than to fight with the fight that we have to fight.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at too. Are we gonna move it? You know,
Where's it normally?
Down Needham Street over by College, and all
and
the way
that's
to
Caltrans?
That's Caltrans. Yeah.
I thought that was city.
So you know how if you go over the bridge, it becomes a highway.
Yeah.
So now it's Caltrans.
Oh, really?
And so it wasn't.
So it wasn't until that overpass went in. The 32.
Yeah, it became a lot more difficult, and just on signage we spend $3,000 on signage that before we didn't spend that.
Signage, you mean like the safety light stuff?
Yes. So blocking off the streets. It's not just a barricade.
Wonder how Modesto the marathon does, because they go across that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder how they get around that. These are things to figure out.
Yeah. So we're thinking of moving it to City Street, because then it'd be a little bit easier, less signage.
So we can always go down 10th. I mean, what's J Street?
Yeah.
Right, because is that Caltrans?
No, Caltrans is just 132, and then
I'm just saying, because you go down J Street around, kind of like what they do with the parade.
Yeah.
Right, and have it. McHenry would be Caltrans, though, right? So the question is how do I guess they don't block. I guess we'll figure that off offline.
Yeah, they reached out, the organizers from graffiti, and they said they have the same problem.
Oh,
but
really?
They have a lot more funds. They have a lot more, people that help.
Well, I think this has to do with getting more people involved. There's a lot of veterans and Rotarians and stuff like that would help out in these groups if they knew there was a problem. I don't think we know there's a problem.
And I'll put it on me. I think
no, don't put it on you.
Well, I should have reached out, and as I think, and I'm not going to blame it on the service, but sometimes we're too proud, and I was just like, it's on me, I got to figure it out. But
you got to ask people for help.
I should have asked for a lot more help.
The same problem with PTSD. Yeah. You got to ask for help. Put it out there, because I can put the word out. We need help on certain things. So I've had people call me from the radio show to get answer things and help them out. And I didn't realize how much of a pull we have from our radio show. I mean, we get hit 51 to 71,000 listeners a week. So there's a lot of people there. I didn't realize that. Yeah. So
even with our volunteers, we went from 5, and I think their last count 20 some people.
When's your next meeting?
It's going to be next Thursday, the 7th.
Okay.
And that's just going to be talking about what we did, which is
I won't be there because I'm gone that week because of our 20th anniversary.
Okay.
Yeah, we're renewing our vows in
Vegas. Kind of important.
Yeah, that's one of those. So we're renewing our vows in Vegas at the little church, at the little place we eloped to get away from it. We're doing a new huge wedding when we've both been married before.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what we're doing is a reverse parade at the Veteran Center, and so it'll be static display. It's something small, or something that we just organized within weeks.
What do you mean static? What do you mean reverse?
So it's we're not going to have like cars parading, but we'll have like just military cars, organizations at the Veteran Center.
Gotcha.
On Coffee Road, and then inside we'll do the ceremony. And then I believe the fire department will have hot dogs for veterans. Yeah.
Nothing healthy, huh? Just hot dogs?
Yeah. Coffee and McDonald's.
Black coffee.
So, yeah.
No, the reason the whole thing brought up because somebody called me, Jeremiah, and asked me if I would be the MC for the thing. And, of course, I said yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeremiah reached out, was like, we have to do something.
Right. Well, he helped on the Firewalk.
Yeah. And I mean, he's been my mentor because he's done the 4th of July parade, and so we're kind of similar but not. So he's been a great help. They supported us with the website for years, and any questions that I have as far as logistics, I go to him. And so yeah, we've been butting up since since it broke out, as far as that we were getting canceled, and how can we do something, and then also prepare for next year.
Right. All right. Well, let me know what we need for next year. And thanks for bringing that up. And the parade is that's 11/11.
Yeah, November 11th.
Yeah, Veterans Day. Yeah, which was Amethyst Day originally, which was the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month.
Yeah.
People always go, "When's Veterans Day?" 11/11/11.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, it's not one of those holidays that people like. Every business is off. Right?
No, it's only a federal. It's not a state.
Federal.
Yeah,
and so they don't realize.
Right. A lot of people. Well, I remember a lot of companies used to not give it off, and I always gave every veteran in my company it off, which was always me.
I worked for a company, and they would give you what is it, flex day, and so I'm like, I'm taking that day off. So yeah.
All right. Before we go, Carlos, is there anything else you want to talk about? Because we hit on your service, we hit on PTSD, we hit on the parade that's coming up here in Modesto, California on Veterans Day, and how you need some help. And we always need more volunteer help for that. So if you listen to this and you're local, please reach out to Carlos. Carlos, how do people find you?
So we have a website. Our website is Modesto Veterans Day Parade. All the information's on there. .com. There'll be information about the event this year. Also, if you want to be a sponsor, there's information there. If you want to be a volunteer, email us. And there's going to be, we're planning our first fundraiser, which will be Friday, Valentine's Day in February. So it'll be dinner dance. So we're going to start that off, and hopefully at the end of the year, we'll have a veterans awards and gala. So that'll be our 2 fundraiser events, so that we can keep on having the parade the way we usually do have it.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. Make sure you're out at our Firewalk with the information, so that people know what's there for veterans, because people don't know what's going on. That information's not out there. It's hard to, as easy as it is to Google something, is still difficult to find everything. And that's one of the things I'm trying to put together with Helping the Brave, is all the different services that are out there put in one place so people can find it. So,
yeah. Now, one thing that I guess my last point is that I believe here in Stanislaus County, we have a lot of good veteran organizations that we just have to be united and have, all the leadership so that we can help each other. That's something that I want to work on this year, to kind of have a coalition of veteran organizations where, we tell each other what's going on, so that we can also support their events, can support this event, all that.
I totally agree. I'm tired of them fighting and not working with each other. Yeah. It's about the vets. It's not about your organization, and we're losing 50 a day. So let's work on this.
Right.
Carlos, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it.
Everybody make it a great day.